A glorious weekend in Cappadocia, Turkey. It was June 2022, and I had been in Turkey for a little over 2 months. After a great month in Istanbul, another in Izmir, and a week in Fethiye on the Mediterranean, I was finally heading for Cappadocia. The region had been on my bucket list since one of my students told me about it in 2020. And I wasn't leaving Turkey without going. I worked extra hours to ensure I created the best experience for myself in the historical central Anatolian province. I booked a return bus ticket from Ankara to Urgup and 2 nights in a cave hotel. Most international tourists stay in the town of Göreme, but my Turkish friends suggested I stay in Urgup instead. So I did. It was late spring, but the day was hot as I stepped off the bus after the 3.5-hour ride down to the Nevşehir town. I looked down at my phone as I pulled up Google Maps and typed in the address of the hotel. Not too far by the looks of things, I thought. It was definitely walkable, which was my preference to overpriced taxis. The Effendi Cave Hotel was quaint and located up a slight hill. I'd been up since before 6 a.m. in order to catch a train and a bus to my destination. So I was quite exhausted, the heat packing a punch to my fatigue. Entering the cave-like hotel room was enchanting. I wandered slowly through the bedroom and into the bathroom, loving the textured walls and exquisite touches. After settling in, I headed into the town to check out the scene and get some food. I wandered into a local restaurant for a steaming dish of vegetables, some salad, and fresh bread. The pan came sizzling to the table, and I cleaned my plate, scooping every single bite into my grateful stomach as I took in eyefuls of the view. An exquisite rock formation loomed large over the town, looking down over people as they wandered around below, shopping and searching for restaurants. I had a hot air balloon ride scheduled for the next morning and needed to be up at 4 a.m. So I ambled back to the hotel, belly full, to make use of the spa bath and get an early night. Slightly bleary-eyed, I was ready and waiting when the shuttle bus arrived to take me to the launch site. The driver informed me that high winds were forecast and takeoff was looking doubtful. After an hour of waiting around, we were informed that we couldn't go up that morning, and I was dropped back off at the hotel, a little disappointed. The hot air balloon ride was the main reason I was visiting the region, but I also knew the risk. I downed another cup of coffee as I texted the hotel staff who had booked my flight to see if they could get me on the next morning's schedule. As I ate some breakfast, they said they would try. I had also arranged a sunset horse ride through the stone chimneys, but it wasn't until the evening, so I set off to check out some areas of interest in the little town. I wandered up to the Kaykapı neighborhood, which was one of the first settlement zones in Urgup. Formed by hundreds of caves and historical structures, it is supported by UNESCO and the World Heritage Center. Unfortunately for me, it was under construction, but offered a wonderful view of the town. Temeni Tepesi, or Wish Hill, was next on my list, both for the incredible view and the historic Terrace House Museum located nearby. As I wandered the perimeter, taking in the sight, I made a wish of my own, closing my eyes for a moment as I sent it out into the vast universe. I took one last look, turned and headed toward the Terrace House Museum. For only 5 Turkish lira, about 15 American cents, I was able to wander with abandon through the beautifully restored rooms, coming to the kitchen first, moving out into the upper courtyard I made a few new chicken friends along the way. Sofas and a crib adorned the living room, as well as a carpet-making bench. I stared in awe at the rudimentary furniture in the dwelling, a far cry from what we have in our houses today. The barn room is the house's most valuable room due to its ability to maintain a constant temperature, allowing food and animals to be stored there without the heat of the region ruining either. I found a gorgeous old radio in the sparsely decorated bride room, which looked out at an amazing view of Mount Aegius's snowy peak in the winter. Time was running down, and I was beginning to fatigue from the heat, the early morning start having an effect on me. I headed back to the hotel for a couple of hours' rest before another shuttle arrived to take me to a ranch about 20 minutes from the town. Oh joy! Horses! I sprang into the saddle of a speckled white mare and set off behind the tour leader. The ride was about 2.5 hours in total, which was more than I was expecting, making me extremely happy. We were guided through many of Cappadocia's gorgeous valleys, including Stone Valley, Sword Valley, and Rose Valley. The sound of the 20-year-old mare's hooves plodding along, gently combined with the beauty of the region, made the ride memorable. We rested for a few minutes so the horses could get a bite to eat, and we could explore a cave. And then we were off again into the sunset. Wandering through a nearby town, I noticed that other horse enthusiasts had stopped for a drink or two, and the scene made me smile. My old gal wanted more to eat and kept trying her luck at grabbing some grass on either side of the trail as we went. If it had been up to me, I would have let her graze as much as she wanted, but my guide seemed determined to pull her up and keep going. The sun dropped lower and lower, the glow making the scenery even more spectacular. Through waving green fields and paths surrounded by stone mammoths, we plodded along until we were back at the ranch, and I had to say goodbye to the gorgeous mare. I whispered a thank you and gave her a kiss before dragging my tired body back into the shuttle. We reached the hotel around 8:30 p.m., and although I was exhilarated from my day, I was also exhausted as I sunk into another deep bath. The staff had contacted me earlier to let me know that they were unable to get me on a balloon ride the next morning, and despite my sadness over not being able to tick the item off my bucket list, I had accepted my fate and settled into bed with a movie. Around 9:30 p.m., my phone rang. It was my host calling to let me know that she had managed to get me on a balloon ride at the last minute, and the shuttle would collect me at 4 a.m. the following morning. Delighted, I thanked her profusely and turned out the light. I needed to get some sleep if I was to be up before dawn once more. Again I was informed that the wind, and this time the rain, may put a stop to my skyward journey. Fortunately, Mother Nature calmed everything down long enough for the balloon ride to go ahead. Loaded into the basket next to a Spanish couple who didn't understand a word of English, I used my broken Spanish skills to translate the instructions being laid out by the captain. And then we were up and away, soaring above the fairy chimneys and the beautifully barren landscape. It felt surreal up there as a sense of calm descended on us. Excited squeals and the occasional phone conversation pierced the air as the intense quiet was broken, but a general feeling of peace was felt above it all. I stared in awe at the landscape, unable to comprehend in that moment how lucky I truly was. I was witnessing something that only a small percentage of the Earth's populations had seen before. All good things must come to an end, though, and as we crouched down, our legs aching, we braced for landing, My spectacular bucket list expedition was over after an hour suspended above the ancient land. Champagne flowed as we were handed certificates as proof of our once-in-a-lifetime journey. Soaring over the expanses of soft volcanic rock, shaped by erosion into towers, cones, valleys and caves, was an experience I won't forget anytime soon. Making my way back to the bus terminal at midday, I took a final look at Urgup, hoping I would find my way back there one day.